And this is the Process to Purpose podcast. We're here to help inspire, motivate, and encourage others to find their purpose through the process of spirituality, health, and wealth, using godly principles and values to break through to the life that God has called us to live. I'm super excited for our next episode. We have Sammy and Brandon here from HeRose.
That's right.
HeRose, man. That's awesome, brother. And the way I connected with you guys, you actually got my information from Chris Perez, right?
That's right. Mr. Chris, shout out, bro. You got to listen to this episode now.
Yeah, right. Now, we're going to have to send it to him personally, both of us.
That's right.
So Sammy actually reached out to me, and he told me about what they're doing with HeRose. And we're going to get into exactly what they do and what all that's about. It's something amazing they're doing with a bunch of men, and it's really awesome to be invited every single time, man. And I had the opportunity to speak at this event that they had, and it was awesome, man. I really enjoyed it. So I know you guys are partners in HeRose. So tell me a little bit about what HeRose is, man.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll jump in. I'll kind of kick it off.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I'll bring Brandon in.
Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Yeah, Sammy Villanueva, founder of HeRose. It's a men's mastermind focused around 4 core strengths and really just opening the invitation to have men come together to encourage and pursue significance and success in all areas. Again, we're focused on 4 core strengths. First one being mental strength, so always learning and putting something new into your mind. Second one is physical strength, or your body, because we only got one.
That's right, you got to take care of it.
So physical strength, so doing something activity-wise, keeping it healthy. Next one is emotional strength, or the heart, and that one is relationship-based, right? So really leaning in and learning about how do we open up with our emotions? How do we lean into vulnerability, talk to our brothers, and be okay with, building those relationships and communicating on a regular basis. Because right now, real talk, like, men are not the best at doing that. Right?
Yeah, not at all, man. And even with a couple of my best friends, those are some of the conversations we have. It's like, hey, man, I didn't know you were going through that, bro. It's like, we hang out all the time, bro. But you never told me, like, why were you struggling with this for the last couple of months or years or whatever the case is. And now it's just coming out, bro. Like, I feel like a bad friend when that happens,
Yeah, that's good for you that you feel like that.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, I think that's a little bit of you taking responsibility. Like, man, how can I engage this friend to pull it out more? But most men, just because of our culture, we interact side by side.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is most men talk side by side. They're either like playing a video game, or maybe they're watching a football or a show or a sporting event, and they're side by side, bar stool.
Yeah.
And it's just, they don't have to lock eyes or lock hearts or lock minds. They're because I don't think we've been taught how to do that. And so it's side conversation. So these deep conversations, these things that are a little bit weightier, are not things that are brought up to the surface. But anyway, that's the emotional strength. The last piece is the soul strength. And soul strength is really just asking the big question of, what's my purpose? What's my mission? What am I doing here, and why am I here?
Nice.
So those are the 4 core. That's a little bit about the overall HeRose. Brandon, you want to intro yourself, man?
What's up, guys? My name is Brandon. Partner with Sammy in the men's community that we run called HeRose.
Nice.
And do a lot of other stuff by day. And but I'm excited to be here with Robert today and just elevate all men. That's kind of one of our big missions and goals, is to just elevate all men to be the best version of themselves, to do what they say they're going to do, and be men of character, integrity, principled men that have values and that live by them. Yeah. So
that's really good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, what I see you guys doing together is something that many people, like, I know when I first met you guys talked about, there's like the successful and, like, how would... It was like the crazy scene, and then there's like the church scene, and then but there wasn't really anything in between, and that's what you guise are trying to fill, right?
Yeah. So I'll give a little bit of a background of like where it came
Maybe
from.
I said that wrong, but
no, that's pretty accurate. So Brandon and I actually met in college, right? So we're fraternity brothers, and finishing college, leaving college, what I realized was I had been in group settings with men pushing me past my comfort zone throughout my whole life. I played sports. As I was younger, I played college football, and then we joined a fraternity. Nice. And the thing about this that I don't think many people realize is that being a part of an organization or a unit going after a common goal, there's just like this this energy that lifts everyone up.
100%.
And just accountability, and just there's so much magic that's unseen amongst these types of organizations or these groups. And so anyway, when I left college, I realized that I was kind of lonely. I was realizing that I was missing something, and I couldn't really put my hand on it. So what I did was I looked for, men's groups in LA, and this was back maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and there wasn't anything that really matched. Now there were two extremes, right? There were the let's go drink and play softball, and join the intramural leagues or whatever, the softball leagues, or the Bible studies, and both of those are totally great in their own sense, in their own world, and I've done both, and I think they can be fulfilling and fun. But what I wanted was something that was somewhere in the middle, right?
Good.
Something that was attractive to everyone, every man, but when they came in, they got fed with the right stuff.
Yeah.
And so, that's it's kind of where it came out of.
That's good, and what really attracted me to you guys is you guys are trying to meet the that middle group, but also you guys have foundation of God, and you guys are believers, and you guys are moving in that way. So that's really good. It doesn't always have to be like, hey, you know what Mark 6:33 said, and it's awesome that's great that people do that.
Yeah.
But I know before I was a believer, or before I started surrounding myself with the right people, I didn't want to hear that stuff.
Sure.
I didn't want to hear that stuff. I wanted to, just be like, hey, man, let me do this on my terms.
Sure.
And then once I decide that, hey, you know what, this is real for me, which it is, it is real for me, then that's when I'm going to decide to move forward with it. Don't be throwing stuff. So I think what you guys are doing are great, man.
Thanks, man.
Let me ask you a little bit about the pillars you guys have, man.
Yep.
Brandon, I know... Can you guys repeat the 4 again, just so I'm on the same page?
Yeah.
Mental, physical, emotional, or we also say heart a lot of the times.
Got it.
And then the soul strength.
So like mind, body, heart, and soul.
Good. Okay. And Brandon, what would you say that your strength is at? Because I know that a lot of times we're going to look at these pillars that we have, and we might not be great at all of them.
Yeah.
But since you guys are partners, what would you say is your strength for those pillars?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a really great question. Strength-wise, I mean, I've always felt like I have that soul purpose. Just growing up as a kid, rooted in a biblical foundation. I had that. Obviously, I went through worldly ways and strayed sometimes, but because that was a part of me, that was always a strong part of me. That to this day I can still live a valued and principled life.
Good.
So the soul strength, definitely.
Good.
I grew up playing sports too, so I'm very active. I'm an avid hiker and outdoors person right now, and we're looking forward to this physical fitness challenge. So
Good.
That's an area I definitely take high. Not just physical fitness, but also on the the health, nutrition side.
Yeah.
So that's an area I place a lot of value on as well.
Mm-hmm.
So soul and physical for sure.
Good, man. Yeah, because it is difficult, and I know our goal is to be great at all these things that we put together, right?
Yeah.
So I know the pillars for our podcast and process to purpose is spirituality, health, and wealth, right? And I mean those are really broad,
Right.
but there's a lot of things that go into those, right? And I know a lot of times when I've tried to be great at all of them, I'm failing at all of them a lot of times, right? And then I get my health right? Because at the beginning of the year, I started off at a certain way, and I got down. I was like, dude, I'm killing it in my health.
Right.
But then my business started hurting, right? And then one thing that's always been pretty decent, and I'm always kept up with, is my spiritual life. So that's why I asked the question, right? So same thing to you, Sammy. What would you say is your strength in those 4 pillars?
Oh man, that's a great question. I mean, I think first thing that comes to mind is I definitely have to jump on and give Brandon credit, because for the longest time he was a spiritual leader for me.
Nice.
He was a mentor in the faith. There was a point in our business journey where we dove back into investigating our faith.
Good.
Like, we had a mentor who asked us, make sure you know why you believe what you believe, and
really
don't
good.
just go through the motions, and don't just show up because a generation before you did it, right?
Yep.
And so we got to the point in our business that we were like, we didn't just want success, we wanted significance.
Yeah.
And so we both went to we probably visited every church in the Inland Empire. We went to like a ton of Bible studies, and what we were looking for was somewhere that we could, call home, but really somewhere that was going to be feeding this new hunger of what do we what are we doing, why are we doing it, and how can we achieve significance, not just success.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I just give you credit for that, man.
That's really good,
helped me
Brandon.
a lot with that. But I think for me, it's interesting. I think my gut instinct is to say like I'm working on all of them.
Yeah, of course.
But I would say maybe I have a safety blanket of learning. You know, the ability to learn something new gives me peace every single day, because I know that my circumstances are not my cage. Like I get to change them every single day, and that's freeing, right? So if I'm experiencing something that, I'm struggling with my wife on something, I can go to God, go to the Bible and learn and seek wisdom. I can open up a book like the 5 love languages and refresh my knowledge on what's my wife's love language, and then apply it and change the entire situation by adding information. So for me, I would say mental strength, man. I'm like avid. If I don't have a book around me, it's like I'm naked.
Yeah, and we talked about like driving, right? When you're driving around, you said it took you about an hour to get here to our office in Covina, and it's like, what are you doing with that hour, right? So say if you're driving by yourself, not with Brandon, like, hey, what are you listening to? Are you listening to the radio, or are you listening to David Goggins, going off in your ear? You know what I mean? Like things like that. It's like, what are we doing with our time? How are we? Because a lot of times, hey, we don't have time to do this. We don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
But the truth is that we have plenty of time, but we, like you said, we make a choice.
That's right.
Right. And what we actually do. So that's really good, man. Because I know that's something that I really focused on for a long time, and then just recently I got a little bit lazy on. So that's why I started doing the 122 challenge again, right? And then we're gonna get into a little bit what you guys are doing with the challenge, man. So go ahead.
I want to mention something about relationships and the value of having relationships, because when I'm driving myself, I have my own thoughts. I plug in, I'm listening to an audio podcast, I'm learning, I'm growing, I have my own thoughts around it. Today I had the privilege and honor to drive with my best friend and business partner. And we did listen to snippets of podcasts.
Yep.
But in those snippets, we paused it and we began discussing things about our world, the economy, the way things are. Just iron sharpening iron at that point.
100%.
We extracted what was being said, and we fed off each other's perspective, and so that, the value of having a good, solid, quality relationship, because there could have been times in my life when I was with another friend and is all he was talking about, maybe we were listening to music, talking about girls, talking about drinking, whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
And there's no real substance or value in any of that.
There's no life in that.
And there was in this just today, just being with him.
That's really good to be aware of that, man, because it's really important to surround yourself with the right people, and the right people that are going to be feeding your mind, because it's really easy to waste time, man, and just let time go. Absolutely. Right? I know there's a saying in Spanish, and I won't say it in Spanish because I'll probably mess it up, but they say,
come on, man, you gotta try it.
No, I'm gonna say
this now.
No, but I'm gonna say it in English. I'm gonna do the translated version, and it's show me who your friends are, and I'll show me who you are, and it's 100% true, right? It's 100% true. It's like, hey, you are who you surround yourself with, man.
That's right.
So
look at Jesus. He had a lot of disciples.
Yeah.
And then what did he do? He said, listen, I'm gonna select the 12 that are gonna be around me on a regular basis, and he had his mastermind group right there.
Yeah, and that's a great example, because they don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm looking for this perfect person. It's like, man, those guys failed all the time.
That's right.
But what do? They had their leader, and they looked to their leader, and they spoke to each other, even though they probably fought a couple of times. Who's gonna be greater and this and that. We all know, and it's like, no, man, like
the pursuit to progress, right? Or what?
What was that?
That's what they're doing all the time. They're like pursuing progress, right, on a regular basis. They're just trying to
learning,
get better,
failing, and that's what we all do during life, man. That's super awesome. Great to bring that up, man. So tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing with this new challenge you guys are starting, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you wanna start it off?
You got it.
Cool. All right. So, we about almost 2 years ago, we launched something called the HeRose Edge.
Okay.
So we've been in personal development actively for over a decade, probably 15 years now, just actively reading personal development, pursuing improvement, chasing after, just getting better in every area that we can. And so one of the categories that we started honing in on was habits, and what are we doing with our habits on a regular basis, right? And about 2 years ago, we launched something called the HeRose Edge, and it's an acronym for HeRose. So HeRose is actually spelled HeRose, and it's a set of habits that we put forth for the group to follow on a regular basis every single day, so that when they're out there pouring into others, serving their community, their world, their business, they're not running on empty. They're actually performing optimally. Their cup's full so that they can pour into others.
Amen. Yep.
And so the habits break down like this. So H is heart.
Okay.
Right? That's the relationship piece. And all that encouraged the men to do was reach out to someone that you haven't talked to, or if someone's on your mind or on your heart, reach out to them, give them a call, send a text message, call mom, call your brother, call your cousin, important. And just say
talk
hi.
to your wife or my girlfriend or your brother.
Ask the right questions.
Many times on my journal, like I would have 2 boxes. It was like planned date night for Friday night with the wife, and then it was like, hey, call Brandon because you haven't talked to him in like a couple days, right? Yeah. So that's the H. It was a heart. It was something around relationships. E was exercise.
Good.
So just do some type of exercise or fitness or wellness, whether it's diet or physical activity, something.
Yep.
The R was, you all know this, renewing of the mind, right? So renewing of the mind, learning something new that day. So for us, it's regularly a podcast or, reading or both. And so reading, learning something in the R section, that's the R. The O is it stands for own, and it is own the day. And ideally, this part of the HeRose Edge is done at the beginning of the day. It's reading an affirmation statement and then writing 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for.
Okay.
So that's the O piece. The S is soul. And for us, the HeRose group is not necessarily connected to any church. It's non-denominational. But for us, in the soul piece, what we talk about is we say go to your source. Where are you charged up? Where do you get charged? And then where's your source of power? Right? And so for Brandon and I, it's the Bible and it's God, and that's where we go. And so for us, that particular piece is our Bible time and our prayer time, right? And then the last piece, which is the E, which is critical, is evaluate. At the end of the day, on my little journal, I put 8:30, and I have an alarm on my phone. It goes off, and it has me evaluate how I did on the HeRose Edge. If I had 8 boxes that I was supposed to check off, what did I do? Did I get 7 out of 8, 6 out of 8? And then it gets analytical. And then you start looking at what was my week. Was I 80%, 90% optimal performance? So that's the essence of the beginning of the HeRose Edge. What we've done recently, and we haven't launched it yet, it's going to be launching in a couple days, is we've upped the ante, if you will. So I was recently inspired by an individual that's out there, Andy Frisella. He has a challenge called the 75 Hard. Yep. And, I think there's some aspects that we can pull from that are pretty interesting. Yep. He has this challenge for 75 days. You don't miss a day. You follow 5 things. You have to do them every single day or you have to start over. Very similar to your 122, right? Yeah. And your listeners, have they listened?
Yeah, they definitely. Yeah, right? We had a lot of people completed already. Actually,
oh, what? That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So we had, I think,
122 is no joke.
I think like 8 or 9 people who have completed the 122, and for them it was mostly the physical side.
Nice.
So just to let you guys know, I did the 122 before 75 hard. So
let's check the dates.
Yeah, let's just throw it out there.
That's real. Hey, that's real. That 122 obviously smashes on 75 days.
No. But with what they're doing about the whole health and being on a diet, that's tough, man, because I love to eat, brother.
Hey, man, food's good, man.
Yeah, man.
So we got inspired from this 75 hard challenge, and nice. Because we already had this HeRose Edge, like
systematic habits. Yeah.
There, we said, what if we merged some of the principles of the 75 hard and put it into the HeRose Edge?
That's good.
And so what we did is we came up with the HeRose Hard Edge, right? Kudos, throwing respect to the 75 hard. So it's the HeRose Hard Edge, and it's a 6-day challenge, and it's a little bit more prescribed, if you will, in each aspect. So for the H is the relationship. We're pairing up people in this challenge over the 60 days, and you have an accountability partner. So every single day you got to check in with your accountability partner. Hey, how's the day going? Did you complete it? Are you on your way? Are you going to do it? Let's make it happen. E is exercise. So there's a minimum of 30 minutes of physical exercise, and then a self-prescribed diet. So I know we're coming into the holidays, but whatever you write your diet as, stick to it. And your diet could be, I'm going to have turkey on Thanksgiving. Just write it down before and stick to it. I think having character is more important than sticking to some, keto diet that could be impossible to maintain.
Especially during the season. Right?
Yeah, right. Just be honest and stick to what your customized diet is, right? So 30 minutes exercise, diet, and then the R piece, which is renew. We're doing a 20-20, which is 20 minutes of reading and then 20 minutes of audio, right? And then on the, where was that? That was the R. The O is own the day. So it's read your affirmation statement. If you don't have one, write one. And then gratitude list, which is 3 things that you're grateful for that day. Do it in your journal, whatever it is.
That's crazy how hard that would be for some people, right?
We were just talking about that today, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
I'm grateful for this beautiful chair that I'm sitting in.
Yeah, right. Like that's it.
Chair, man.
Like I got water I can drink. You know what I mean? Like it's true. Right?
Yeah.
Or my gosh, the sun's shining.
Yeah. Or this room, man. This is a sweet setup, bro.
Yeah,
like,
man.
I mean, we're recording like podcasts and like
your audience might like this because when we were running this morning and we were talking about that, I brought up some Bible plan thing that I was reading on gratitude.
Good.
And it simply said in the book of Genesis, when God created, he saw that all the things he created were what? They were good.
Good, yeah.
And he says, look at things that are created in that perspective, that they're all good. And if you look at things that are always that in the light of goodness, then you'll have a gratitude towards things automatically.
Yep. That's good.
And just simple as that.
Yeah. That's a great look. That's a great way to look at it, definitely.
Yep. So that's the O, the own the days, the affirmation, 3 gratitude. The S, which is soul, we're just doing 5 minutes of prayer or meditation, right? And hopefully you work up to a little bit more on that. And then last, the evaluation piece, which I'm really excited about, is just recording a 30-second video of yourself and how you're feeling throughout that day or at the end of the day, just to check in. So what we were doing before with the Hero's Edge was, we literally would tell the guys this: let's focus on progress, not perfection, right? And I think that's okay for the long stretch of life.
Yeah.
But when it comes to what we're doing with this Hero's Hard Edge, I think it's great to stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone and say, no, I'm going to expect perfection for 60 days or for 122 days.
Yeah, that's difficult.
And I think that's great. And so that's what we're doing 60 days.
That's good, man.
Perfect.
That's good. And you guys and it's good to have a whole group behind it. And I think, so one thing, I don't know if you guys can implement this or you guys are probably already doing, but one thing that I did, and I'm sure you've seen it on my Instagram, is I actually posted what day I was on, because not only am I accountable to your partner and the group, but I'm accountable to everybody that's watching. You know, the 600, 700 people who look at your story. Right. You're accountable to them.
Is that how many people you get? I only get like 7 people.
No, somewhere around there, right? I was throwing up random numbers, but maybe. No, I'm kidding. So you get these people who see it, and then they're like, "Bro, that's crazy." And then I think the biggest thing from that is like people start wanting to join you, and it's not like about what I'm doing. It's not about what you guys are doing, but about the people who you can inspire and bring up on the way. Like, right? Hey, I'm going through this. It's not easy, and I'm not doing this so you can be like, "Oh my gosh, bro! Like, so cool. Yeah, you're so great." Nah, man. Like, I'm doing it because it helps me, because I've tried to do it without social media, and I failed.
Accountability.
Yeah, and accountability is huge. You know, the little 100 sign that you send me, bro. That's like, it wants to keep me going. You know, even though I did fail this last time, I got to day 9 and day 10. You know, I was telling him about the Benadryl story. I just did not get up. You know,
hashtag don't take 3 Benadryl.
Yeah, don't take 3 Benadryls. Yeah, because I absolutely don't take anything. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna go to dinner right now. I'm dying from allergies. You know, and I took it, and then I was like zombied out, man. With that, you know, I don't know if you guys are doing something like that, but it'll be great to implement something like that.
Yeah, you know, I think we've had that aspect to some of the other Heroes Edge challenges that we've released. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to, because some of our guys don't necessarily have a social media, but the guys that do, like, I think for myself and for Brandon and for you, because you're gonna jump on with us and do it with Luigi.
Yeah, right.
Come on, man, come with us.
Hey, Luigi's down.
Let's do it. And I think doing that, posting it, and just same way like you, man, knowing that I have to get it out there to the world is more having like my word on the line.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's
because that's what if we look at what Andy Frisella did, right?
Yeah.
He would do boom, boom. He'll do the skulls or whatever
Yeah,
over
that's
the
right.
days.
Yep.
Because he knows what the power of accountability, right?
Sure.
He has, millions of followers. I don't know how many followers he has, but he has tons of followers, and all these people are looking up to him. And how many people did he encourage and inspire to get going?
That's right.
And a lot of these people weren't doing anything. And all of a sudden they start doing 5 things a day that can change their whole life forever.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right. And yeah, a lot of times we're going to fail, like we talked about. And I failed many times, and I backslide a little bit. But hey, once I realized, hey, I'm backsliding again with my health or my reading, whatever, it's like, hey, let's go back on it another 122 days or another 60 days.
That's right.
So yeah, man, that's super awesome that you guys are doing that, brother.
Yeah, it's great. Brandon brought up a great point because we introduced it to the immediate HeRose group, the closer knit group of guys that meet every single month. He talked about how 75 hard is great. I think it stretches you to be disciplined, but one of the aspects that it didn't have was the spiritual piece, right? So ours, the soul pieces, and your 122, because I see your checklist has prayer or meditation, or and specifically for us, it's prayer, and that's. Man, think about the strength and what we can get for just taking some time and doing that, right?
Yeah, there could be. I don't know the exact stats. I had listened to a podcast, and they were saying how just the simple act of meditation or prayer or some sort of like inward reflection of how it helps people get rid of essentially depression, anxiety, stress, so much. And as men, that's what with our group that we reach out to in our audience is just how much stress on a daily basis are we dealing with, and anxiety and health issues and everything, and so that spiritual component of meditation, prayer, calming oneself, breathing, and just focusing, having a quietness and a peace. It probably does so much more for you mentally, physically, emotionally. Spiritually than anything else.
Yeah, it's almost like you get it off your plate, man, because you got all this weight on your shoulders a lot of times, and you're like, I can handle this, I can take
heavy.
this, and a lot of times it's like, hey, man, like God's hand is big enough, man, like don't think any little just problems, he's like, nah, he's not worrying, like his hand is big enough to carry all our problems and all our worries and all our anxieties and everything that we have going on, but a lot of times is we're not taking the time because of our pride, ego.
We're pumped up to get up in the morning and hit the gym, but once you get pumped up to hit your knees.
Yeah, no, that's important. Yeah, so literally, I don't know if you've seen on my list prayer on my knees.
Specific.
Yeah, because like.
Why did you come up with that? I'm curious.
Prayer on my. You know what? I just.
Humbling.
Yeah, not only that is, but the first thing is like, hey man,
reverence,
like,
right?
Yeah, like who do I believe is Lord, right? And getting on my knees is like, hey man, like I'm gonna surrender right now. I know when you bow down to people, right? Like back in the days, you would bow down, whatever, or you get down, like that's a sign of respect, sign that the person who you're looking at, they're the king, right? And that's how I feel the same thing with Jesus and God. And it's like, hey man, I'm gonna get on my knees and I'm gonna surrender everything, and I'm gonna get on my knees, even though I don't really want to get on my knees because my knee hurts sometimes and stuff like that. But I'm going to get on my knees and I'm going to pray, and I'm going to make this time, because it's easy to say, hey, I'm going to pray for 10 minutes. And then I'm sitting there and I get distracted.
Yeah, you're
right?
distracted.
I get distracted, and it still happens sometimes. But the thing is, hey, I go on my knees. I know that once I'm on my knees, I'm there to do one thing, and that's to pray.
Good,
yeah. And when I'm not, and I try to do it in the sauna, and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to pray in the sauna, and somebody walks in, I get distracted.
Right.
On my knees at 3:45, 3:50 in the morning, nobody's bugging me.
Right.
My wife's in bed, right, because she's not getting up right now. She's pregnant, and so I'm by myself.
Nice.
We'll have one light on just in case I don't fall asleep, and yeah, I think that's the
awesome,
best
man.
time and the best way for me to do it right now, right?
Good.
Yeah, so I think that's exciting. I mean, for these challenges, the 122, the HeRose Heart Edge is having the aspect of your spirituality, your faith come into it and be a part of the challenge, and holding yourself to be disciplined in this aspect.
Yeah.
But then the other piece that we're hopefully bringing in, and I'm super excited to find out how people feel, is engaging with someone else on the journey, right?
Yeah.
Your accountability partner, and checking in, and not, because I knew a couple individuals that attempted the 75 hard, and one of the guys from the HeRose group actually got to 55 days. And, I asked him, I said, what was the journey like? And one of the things he said, he was like, it was kind of lonely sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And having someone, social media is great, and posting, I think it's an accountability piece and a character piece, but literally getting on the phone with someone old school, bro, like face to face and on the phone, hearing the voice and saying, how are you doing? What are you feeling? Let's push through. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
It's special.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you do get lonely in that. You do, because there's been times, man, when I've been doing it, and this is like Sundays, right? Sundays would always, I would say, would be the hardest days because
It's the rest day.
well, not only that, but like everyone else is out Saturday night and they're staying out to maybe midnight, 2 in the morning. So I can't stay out to 2 in the morning because guess what? I have to be up at 3:40 in the morning. So there's been times, and I'm gonna be completely honest, man. I'm warming up on the elliptical, and I go on Instagram, and after I've done a couple of things, and I'm looking at Instagram, I'm looking at my friends going out. They're drinking, they're doing things, and it's like, and I don't drink, I don't do anything, but I want to just be out there with them. I feel like I'm missing out, and like, man, almost like tears are coming to my eyes because I'm like, is this crap even worth it? Like, why am I here? Why am I doing this to myself? But then I remember, like, man, I've been called to be disciplined. I've been called to live this life, because if not, then nobody's around me is gonna benefit. If I'm just like everybody else, nobody's gonna learn, man. So, yeah, man. So Sundays are always the toughest day.
And make sure to shoot you a text then or call you on Sundays, because we're out there with you, bro.
Yeah.
I think one of the great things about having this community and our friendship, and we're just starting out with our friendship, is being alone in the hustle and the fight, but knowing that someone else is doing the same thing at the same time can create a sense of, okay, I'm gonna keep going. I'm thinking about the HeRose guys. I'm thinking about the other men that are in the group making it happen.
One of our biggest things, it's right on the title of our HeRose, is alone I am human, but together we are heroes.
Good. That's really good.
One of the sayings.
Yeah.
And
it's true.
He came up with the tagline, tired of almost, and it's like, there's so many times you've almost, and it's because you were alone on the journey. That's probably why you almost finished something.
Yeah. That's really good.
You almost were a great father. You were almost a good husband. You almost started that business. You almost saved up enough money to make that purchase. You almost, whatever, fill in the blank. Too many men live almost lives. And I'm not speaking to you all. I was living like that. And so all we did was, let's create a community that just has this ecosystem of finishing well. Yep. That pulls us and compels us to do it,
Yeah, and then not only that, just, being that generation changer, man. Like, where people are always like, well, this is always how it's always been, this is how it's always is, this is my family, they all been alcoholics, my family, they've always been broke. It's like, nah, man, like, you can change that right now. Right. And I'm glad you guys are doing that. You guys are giving people a platform to come speak and learn from people. And that's really good, man. That's what we need as men. A lot of times, the mindset I used to have before, it was really easy for me to be like, man, I'm trying to make it in this warehouse job so I can move up the ladder. I realized I wasn't going to move up no ladder, man. But because of the mindset I had, is like, hey, this is how, my family did it. This is how it has to be done. It's like, no, man, like, we have to be the person. We have to take responsibility. Kind of like how Grant Cardone is like, our responsibility to be successful. It's our responsibility to love our family, to be that better person that we've been called to be.
Right.
Yeah, man. So,
man, responsibility is huge. Without responsibility, you lose the power to change a situation.
Yeah.
You blame circumstances. Now you can't change it.
Ooh, that's really good. Yeah, because you don't want to be blaming circumstances for where you're at.
Yeah.
Because you definitely have a choice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good, man. So what's the next path, or how should I say this, what's the next step for HeRose to grow into? I know you have a big vision I know both you guys have a big vision for HeRose, and I know you guys have been grinding out. What do you think the next step in the journey is?
Hit that first, bro. I'm about to blow this mic up right now.
Brother, so much. We haven't officially launched our podcast that you're going to be a guest on.
Good.
In about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's going to be called Underground HeRose.
Underground HeRose, good.
So we'll be moving forward with that. We've interviewed many of the men that are already a part of the HeRose community. And essentially what we're doing is we're capturing the stories of these men who are in the trenches fighting the fight, and getting their perspective and their mental, emotional, spiritual, the four core of where they're at in the trenches while they're in the heat of the battle.
Yeah.
Good.
And while they're on their path and their journey, their adventure to become, the man that, God called them to be, or the man that they're, purposed to be.
Yep.
So that's exciting, hearing these stories, because every man has a story.
Yeah.
And, you hear these podcasts today, like Sammy says, and they all, a lot of people have already made it, quote unquote, sometimes when they're interviewing, because they're interview worthy now.
Got it.
I feel everyone's worthy.
Yeah,
and everyone can teach someone something. You can
100%.
learn something from anyone at any
100%.
level in their life. And why not get it right when they're in it,
Good.
And so, it's enlightening. It's opened up doors to many different things for a lot of the guys. It's been powerful. So we're excited to get that fully launched.
That's really good, man.
Going forward, man, this is a long-term game for us. Sammy and I talked about it. It's like we're not back. We don't plan on going anywhere. There's a mission. There's a purpose behind this of reaching men and elevating all men.
Mm-hmm.
And we have visions of connecting different men's masterminds and groups and communities, hosting massive conferences.
Good.
Just any way we can uplift men, promote them, and just help them to push aside the mediocrity, and to live a life of purpose.
Good.
We're going to do anything and everything that we can to get that message out and to get men elevated to that level.
Good.
So.
Well, if it's okay, let me ask Brandon one thing. So, if you would say, and I know there's probably many things that you can do, but if there's something that you had to do tomorrow, and tomorrow is our last day, and this is the only chance you get to improve HeRose, what would that be?
Man, that's a great question, bro.
Yeah. And I know that it could be a lot of things. So we might not even have an answer for it, but if tomorrow
a man, if he sets out to change the world, he first must change himself.
Whew.
The only thing I can do is just focus.
Can we drop the mics real quick?
Yeah, right.
The only thing I can do is focus on changing myself.
That's great, man. That's
it.
good.
I can't do anything for him that if I'm not doing it for myself.
Good.
So.
Just kind of how you said earlier about it, filling that cup up, right?
Yeah.
That's 100% responsibility right there.
Ownership.
Yep. I could fill the cup up and it could start overpouring, and I can control that. That's good. Really good, man.
That was the best answer. that was great, bro.
That
That was not scripted. That's just
man,
that's why he's my best friend and partner of HeRose, man. That's where it's at right there.
No, that's really good, man. Because and hey, it could have been, you could have had a whole different answer, but I think that was probably the best answer.
And you want to take it up next further level, because we're talking to men who are spiritual, who are listening to an audience who believes in God and spiritual. Ultimately, just allowing the Spirit of God to change me.
Good, man. Good.
So, yeah, man. It's exciting. We were talking literally last night. What's the big problem we're solving? And
it's important.
It out there in the world, in our opinion, it's kind of messed up. And just like we were talking about, taking responsibility. And we believe that men out there in the whole of community and society, we've dropped the ball. Yeah. And there's a lot of ramifications that you're seeing. I think it's like over 70% of people that are incarcerated come from a home with a father who is not present or not engaged.
Yep.
Right. And a big portion of abortions happen because, not necessarily because, but are associated with same thing, couples who are having a man who is not necessarily engaged in that relationship. And there, I can go on and on and on, and there is, in our belief, a problem or an opportunity for men to take responsibility, own it, and go out and change the society for the better.
Good.
And one of the things we were talking about is there was just some new information that was dropped on me recently from a podcast. California's first Surgeon General, Nadine Harris-Burke, she has this study that she's done on something called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And she talks about how if you went through trauma as a young child, how that literally can impact your immune system to make you more prone to autoimmune diseases, to increase your chances of getting cancer or heart disease, like physical ailments because of some type of childhood trauma that you went through. So trip out on this. She said in her podcast and her TED Talk, check her out. It's an amazing, amazing information. She said, we're built as humans to if we're walking through the forest and we see a bear, our stress hormones flare up. So we get adrenaline pumping through our body, cortisol, and literally our body inflames. And that's okay every now and then, because if we were to get attacked by the bear, we need inflammation to stop the bleeding, to survive, or adrenaline to outrun, jump, fight, whatever it is, right? The fight or flight. And she said every now and then experiencing that is okay because your body can recover and decompress afterward. She asked this one question, which gives me goosebumps, and this is why we're on a mission to elevate men and encourage them to be better in all aspects of their life, because she says, what if the bear came home with you every day? And there's too many families out there who have a bear in their household.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is, and what we're doing is, we're reaching out to the men and we're saying, look, we need to take responsibility. And just because we went through something is not an excuse to necessarily pass it on to the next generation.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And you know, it's a mission, man. And we're not gonna stop, like Brandon said. We say it every single meeting. It's for who it's for. We're not necessarily for everyone, but we're not going anywhere. We're gonna stick this out.
Man, this has been a good podcast, man. I'm sure a lot of people could get a lot from what we've been talking about, man. I'm excited for what you guys are doing. I'm excited for the podcast that you guys are starting. I know you guys are doing it the smart way, and maybe something that I should have done and recorded a few before I got going. And but yeah, man, I'm excited for it. I'm gonna go ahead and ask you a couple of closing questions.
Sure.
These are a little bit more rapid fire, but they're really fun, and sometimes they're probably the best questions sometimes. But I know we have. So I'm gonna start off with Brandon, man. If you could go back to any age, right, and just give yourself one piece of information. Give yourself one piece of information. You can't change anything that's happened.
Yeah.
You can't change the outcome of anything that has happened in your life or where you're at now, right?
Yeah.
But if you go back to any age, what age would it be, and what would you tell yourself?
Learn to love yourself. That's it.
What age?
My whole life.
Get it?
Learning how to love yourself.
You think there'll be that pivotal age though, like say, hey?
Definitely in my teenage years,
Good.
I grew up with a good foundation, and then it got rougher for me. So definitely in the teenage years when it's just awkward and you just like don't know what you want. And
Good.
It's like just
That's
learn
good,
learn to love yourself, and that's it.
Yeah, because I know my audience, they probably heard me say this plenty of times when I asked this question. For me, I would go back to 13 years old, and I would just tell myself that you are loved, man. You know what I mean? And because at the time I didn't feel like I had that father to love me. I had a stepdad. He was great man, but it wasn't that father love,
Right.
So no matter what, no matter where we're at or who we have, we still have a father that loves us.
Right.
So we're loved no matter what, man. So that's really good, Brandon.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, brother. What about Sammy? Same question, brother.
Man, specific age. You know what? I'd probably go back to the 16-year-old version of me.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I would probably slap myself in the head and say, marry your wife quicker. She's a beautiful image of God's love.
Good.
And she's a huge light in my life. And I think I waited too long to let that light fully in. That's what I would tell myself.
That's really good.
Yeah,
man.
I wouldn't necessarily marry her at 16, but I'd be like, okay, don't wait 11 years later to propose to her, right? So,
good, man. That's good, and it's a blessing to have, man. Same thing with myself. I have an amazing wife that's really supportive, really loving, and it's really important to have the right partner in your life, man. When you're doing life, because that could be everything. It can make you or break you, man. Yeah, that's good, man. Well, thank you guys for answering that question. What about a little fun, man? What about favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Remember the Titans.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Whew, man! Disney Plus just came out, man. I was like, let's hit it, bro.
Right, remember the Titans?
The soundtrack, man. The camaraderie, man. I'm just all about guys encouraging each other for the good, man. Fight the good fight, man.
Right side.
That's right. Strong side.
That's
just
good.
Great, man. And then having that racial turmoil and just the two main characters, being a black individual, a white individual, and they just love each other, man, unconditionally. And that's
a great movie.
Great movie.
Brandon, what about yourself?
Same question?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Great movie, man.
I'll just have to say Gladiator.
Yeah.
Gladiator?
That's a great movie.
I don't know why. It's just been one of my favorites.
Because you're a warrior, bro. That's why.
That's right. Awesome, man. All right, well, let's throw out another one, Brandon. If you could have any superpower or any real strength, you could choose one, right? And it could be anything. What would you choose?
To truly unconditional love everyone because that's what most people need.
That's good. Hey, you can attain that superpower, man.
That's right.
It's not as easy, but you can attain it.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So.
Sammy?
Oh man, this is one superpower.
It could be superpower. It could be a strength. It could be like, hey, you know what? I wish I had this gift. I could sing. Like, you know, one of mine is like, I wish I can sing.
Can I be like the Fed and print money?
Yeah, right.
No, honestly, I mean, a superpower of mine would just like literally to just. I wish I would have mastered entrepreneurship and cash flow sooner in my life. If I could give a realistic superpower, that's what I would do. Because right now, what I fight for every single day and what the men fight for every single day is to master their time and to live in their priorities and not their obligations.
Good.
And so I wish I had that superpower early on, where I just like, oh, I got 13 businesses that are cash flowing, and I can go be with my wife and my kids, or coach football, or
Gotcha.
you know,
That's really good.
That's what I would do.
All right, man. And then another one to finish off. What is your greatest weakness?
You asking Brandon first?
No, I'll ask you first.
I'm like, damn, I need to buy some time, man. Oh man, my greatest weakness. Whew. You know what? I would say that sometimes I put unrealistic expectations on myself, and I put the pressure, and it's not because it hurts me. It's because what that pressure does to the people around me.
Yeah.
Right. Putting this pressure to achieve and to push to achieve these certain results, you know, bleeds over into my wife, my kids sometimes, and my friends.
Yeah.
And
it's a blessing and a curse, right?
it is, yeah, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's what I would say.
It's two-sided, that, because I can definitely see that. But I think a lot of people are going to have that, right? A lot of people who are looking to be successful and really make an impact are going to feel that way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then not only that, not only the expectations you have on yourself, but the more you start growing and the more you start surrounding yourself with the right people, you start feeling their expectations for you too, and that can be tough sometimes.
That's true.
Like sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, man, like why do people think I could be this person, or why do people put me in this leadership position? It's like, why? And you know, a lot of times you beat yourself up, but they put you there for a reason, you know. Yeah. So that's good, man. Thanks for that.
Yep.
How about you, Brandon? Your greatest weakness?
I don't know.
He only eats organic food.
I have many great weaknesses. Okay, well, speaking about diet, okay, a weakness in dieting or nutrition.
Okay.
He said your greatest weakness
is sugar, obviously.
Okay.
That's a huge
That's your kryptonite.
Ice cream.
Yeah, I love ice cream too, man.
Yeah,
okay.
Kryptonite. So, like, nutrition-wise, that's one. Greatest weakness, though, I mean, gosh, I'm a human, so there's so many different frailties and weaknesses.
Yeah.
I guess just I don't know what to say.
It's a tough question, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's being impatient, man. Definitely, 100%. I'm 100% patient.
That's a good one. Because as men, we never feel like where we want to be.
Yeah, of course.
There's definitely impatience in that.
Again, a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you guys and sharing what you guys shared, man. It was I would say it was a great podcast.
This was a blast, man. Especially in this cool studio. I feel official, man. Like legit, man.
I honestly, like, this is sick, and I do miss the kind of the background that I have in my little studio.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit smaller, so we're able to come in here and really use the office. And thank you, Century 21, for being able to plug, right? Century 21 for being able to allow us to host this and opening up the offices, because they absolutely charged me nothing to do this here, so it's pretty awesome.
No, man, we appreciate it. I appreciate it. I think kudos to you, man, and kudos to the audience that's listening. I think it's something special for people who take time to intentionally pour into themselves, and you got the right man doing it. You know, there's a lot of respect that I have for you, because
Thanks for that, man.
You're creating a lot of this on your own. You know, the podcast, your 122, your social media, and man, that's a lot. And so kudos for you for paving the way and leading a lot of people that are listening to this. So thanks for letting us be a part of it.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Anything else to close out?
Man, if you want to check out the HeRose website or what we're doing, on Instagram we're at WeAreHeRose. That's We Are HeRose. And the website is www.weareheroes.com. And I think podcast is going to be coming out. It's going to be Underground HeRose, same type of spelling, HeRose. And I think that's it.
Yeah, we're extremely grateful, and we welcome anyone to come check out our group. and plug in and get connected with the community.
It's
We'd
important.
love to have you, meet you, and just build that relationship.
That's right. Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I'll end every episode. If nobody loves you, Jesus loves you.
Amen.
All right, guys. Have a good one, man. Thanks.
Peace.
Peace.